Well, I just
Oh,
raised.
there it is.
Oh, there you go.
There we
Thank
go.
you. Okay.
Teamwork.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Good morning. Good morning. This is the Syracuse Landmark Preservation Board meeting. I'm calling to order on December 14th, 2023. Present at this meeting are
Kyle Gregory.
Turner Jones Rouser.
Julia Marshall,
Jeff Romano.
Cynthia Carter.
And Kate Aueter.
any excused?
No excuse.
First order of business will be to approve the minutes from the prior meeting. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
I second.
Any discussion or changes? And I think I had one. If I can find it. There was an extra S on something, but I will give it to you later, Kate.
Okay.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Dissension? Minutes are adopted. The board will now conduct a public hearing on today's agenda. The first applicant's representative will be invited to describe the proposed scope of work and to present any material or documentation regarding the proposal to the board. Next, persons wishing to speak in favor of the proposal will be given the opportunity to address the board. Then persons who wish to speak in opposition will be allowed to address the board. Finally, the applicant or representative will be given the opportunity to make closing comments to the board. The following each public hearing, the board may vote to approve with conditions, or deny the application just heard. The board may also decide to hold its decision until the next public meeting. If the hearing is closed, no additional information will be allowed into the record except for the information that the board may request. The information will be available for public review with board staff. The staff will now introduce the first application. Kate?
Thanks. This is a certificate of appropriateness for 438 Columbus Avenue, which is the Stickley House. This is phase 2 of the ongoing restoration of the property. This application includes interior restoration work, new construction, as well as some site work. And that's my introduction. So we'll hand it over to Beth Crawford, who is
The
here
applicant,
today.
you want to join us? Could you state, yes. We'll move this over, but can you state your name for everyone? And that's my spelling.
It will pick me up. Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Beth Crawford.
And then get it back.
Project manager with Crawford and Stearns Architects, 134 Walton Street, Syracuse, New York. And today we are presenting phase 2 of the Gustav Stickley House project. A little background, because I know we have a few new board members. The first grant application was done back in 2011, and we worked with city officials at that time, including your board staff. Over the next 5 years from 2011, the Gustav Stickley House Foundation was established. David Rudd is president of that, and with us today is Dave Michael, who was very involved in phase 1. The first owner during the restoration phase was the University Neighborhood Preservation Association. Dave was president at the time and took us through phase 1. The LPB reviewed all of phase 1 work, which included interior removal, stabilization, exterior work, new roof, window restoration, basement window replacement, and the replication of the new front porch. That's that in a nutshell. There's a whole slideshow for that. That work took place between 2016 and 2018. Since then, the house has been transferred ownership to the Greater Syracuse Property Development Corporation, which you might know as the Land Bank. And with us today is Caitlin Wright and Luke Avery Doherty from the Land Bank.
Down.
I think like page down.
Thank you. Just a little bit of history. Again, there's a whole nother slideshow on this, but a little bit of history on the evolution of the house. House was first built in 1900. In December of 1901, coming up on a big anniversary, Christmas Eve, there was a disastrous fire. Gustav Stickley took that opportunity and in 1902 completely redid the interior of the first and second floor of the house in a craftsman style. So we have American chestnut, quarter-sawn oak, and it is considered the first comprehensive craftsman interior in the United States. Stickley sold the house in February of 1911, and the Fleischman family owned it from 11 to 19, at which time Gus's oldest daughter, Barbara Stickley Wiles, buys the house back and raises her family there. Gus moves in about 1920. He's now a widower, and he lives in the house in this second phase from 1920 to 1942, where he passes away at the house. The house was turned into apartments, and it was apartments really from, here it says 1955, but really from the late 40s to about 1996, it was apartments, and then it was empty from 1996 to 2016 when we started phase one on the work. Existing slides, are they at the end?
The existing actually are not part of
Okay,
this.
so
but
in your
they do
packet
have the- they do have the-
is a group of existing condition floor plans. They do show some of the removals. All the kitchens were removed in phase one. All the bathroom fixtures, except for the historic bathroom fixtures, were all removed. So here is the proposed basement plan, and there has been an apartment in the basement since the 1940s. We are proposing to maintain and completely rehabilitate that apartment. There is no historic material left from the 1940s apartment. It postdates the period of significance. The period of significance of the house is from Gus's renovation in 1902 till he sells it in 1911. So the apartment dates to the existence of an apartment dated to the 1940s. It was completely renovated in about 1985 when all new framing, bathroom, kitchen were all put in. Basically, the floor plan of the new apartment is the same. You can just see a few new walls here. And I will point out that this is the proposed addition, and I'll talk about that more on the first floor. This is basically foundation of the addition. The remaining part of the basement is mechanical space in the front part of the house. So it's essentially a small two-bedroom apartment for a caretaker. On the first floor of the house, from here up is the existing house with the new porch, which dates to 2017, 2018. The first floor will be restored and used as a community space / museum. Onondaga Historical Association will be managing the space, and it will be available for those who are staying upstairs, and I'll explain that in a minute, as well as for rental space or community lectures. So if the Preservation Association or organization like UMPA wants to have a meeting there, something like that. In the back of the house is the proposed addition. This is a 460 square foot, very small addition, which provides the accessibility that we need to the house. So we are calling this the garden entry, and the entrance is here on the south side of the house at the southwestern corner. I believe it's described in the package, coming into an at-grade lobby. And then there would be a small lula, which is a small elevator, which will get you from grade to the first floor and then up to the second and third floor. And then a set of stairs up to the same level as the first floor. And there's also a secondary fire stair that's added here, and then a small handicapped bathroom. The only other new addition on this floor is this kitchen stoop, which replicates the historic kitchen stoop. That actually was approved by the LPB back in 2016. Second floor, we have added a few new partitions and really have kept them to a very minimal amount, trying to preserve as much of the Gustav Stickley historic floor plan. So the most significant rooms on the second floor I'll describe is the primary bedroom here, which would have been Gustav Stickley's bedroom, and then his adjacent office will be reopening the door that used to connect those two rooms. The bathroom that is here was added by the Wiles family, probably in the late 20s or 1930s. And then this area here, which is the stair hall. Some of you may have been here for the board meeting back in April when we came before the board for a removals project this year. And we were able to open up the floor here. This had been covered over in the 1940s for a kitchen. We have opened that up, and that stair will be restored. You can actually go to the house now and walk up the stair, which is really fun. That's been covered over since probably about 1947 or so. This is the historic bathroom that still retains its clawfoot tub and its original 1900 sink. The one larger partition that we're putting in is in this secondary back bedroom, where we're creating a public hallway from the addition here to get to the main hallway. And this is now proposed as a sitting room to enter this suite. So this is sitting room, bedroom, bathroom for that suite. This is sitting room, bedroom, bathroom for suite number 3. And then sitting room, sitting room, bedroom, and then the bathroom for suite 1. And then you'll see at the back of the second floor, we have retained half of the sleeping porch. The sleeping porch was built in 2 different parts. It postdates the period of significance. We believe that the sleeping porch is probably teens and then maybe late 20s. We're preserving half of it for the sitting room for this suite. And we have stepped back the addition, so it's even smaller on the second floor. And we just have the lula, the stair, and then a small housekeeping room for linens and things like that. And then this is the area where we are proposing to do window replacement. And I have a couple of slides on that later, but this is the location here. And the other 4 windows, which are 1996 replacements, are in this bay here. So this is the second floor of those 2 windows. This is the first floor of those 2 windows, just so that when I get to that point, you know where they are. This is the 3rd floor. The 3rd floor did not have any significant or any craftsman period renovations. So it mostly dates to that 1900 period of the house. It has been significantly renovated over the years. During our removals project this year, we uncovered where there were locations of closets and things like that. It is certainly a secondary space in the significance of the house. But Gustav spent his later part of his life, this was his bedroom. So we need to be respectful of the 3rd floor as well. So that would have been his bedroom from 1920 to 1942 or so. So there's 2 suites on the 3rd floor. So the front suite is here, and bathroom here, public hallway. This is a low headroom storage area. This is a former bathroom with beadboard that we won't be restoring the bathroom, we'll restore the room, and it will be a flex space for OHA for either a small office or storage. And then the secondary suite on this floor is here, suite 4. And then the addition, about the same footprint as the second floor, except this roof area right here is a small indentation. It keeps us away from the historic chimney here. It also provides a place to hide the kitchen vent, so it's away from any public view. This is a blow-up of the proposed addition. Again, garden entry, first floor, lula, hallway. And this connection here, which I didn't talk about before, is through an existing window into what used to be a pantry. Pantry was pulled out, I'll say a long time ago. It was converted to a kitchen at least before 1985. The 1985 kind of plastic laminate kitchen was pulled out about 6 years ago. And that's where we are proposing to connect to the historic house. And then this is the foundation plan for the basement, where we'll have a secondary egress from the apartment on the basement plan, a small mechanical room, and then all of this is kind of crawl space. And then this is the stair up and out to grade at the back of the house. This is the south elevation, so kind of standing in the driveway, looking at the house. These are the 4 windows that we were talking about replacing to match the leaded clear glass windows as we did in phase 1. Those were, in the mid-1990s, they were severely deteriorated and they were replaced. Right now they have a wood mutton, which is not historically appropriate. They would have been the leaded glass windows like we have in the living room and dining room. And then this is the south elevation of the sleeping porch, and this is where we are proposing Marvin replacement, wood sash. If you think about most sleeping porches in Syracuse, they either have screens or they might have kind of lightweight windows, and these are very lightweight windows. They're not weather stripped. Preliminary determination from the State Historic Preservation Office, which we got probably 2 years ago, was a verbal, yes, we will allow replacement of these secondary windows. They're not the period of significance of the house, and we want this to be a finished space as part of this back bedroom. And then this is proposed south elevation. This is the lower part that is closest to the driveway, and then this is further stepped back in that blow up of the addition that I showed. And then we're emulating the wood casement windows here from the screen porch. This is the sleeping porch as it exists today. These are the windows that will be replaced here. These are the windows that will come out as part of the addition. This is the link to the addition in this location here. And then these 4 windows are those windows that we're calling for replacements with the historically appropriate one. And so the addition is stepped back from this corner here and then stepped back from the other corner there. You really will not see the addition from the street. It would be, you'd have to kind of go up the hill and kind of, crane your neck to see the addition at all. This is the interior view of those windows. The plan is that we would keep 1 or 2 and label them and store them in the attic as documentation of what was there. These are those 4 windows in the bay. They look good painted, but they're still wood. We painted them onto phase 1. I stuck a few historic images in here. Again, I have a full slideshow of everything. Kate and I have talked about also making the house available to any of you who would like to tour the house, and we'll float some dates if anyone wants to. So this is the 1902, December 1902 article, which was a visit to the house of Mr. Stickley. These have really wonderful illustrations of the interior of the house, a selection of photos from the interior of the house showing the American chestnut. There's been a lot of bad renovation to the chestnut over the years. There's been replacement with pine paneling. The pine paneling will be replaced with chestnut. There's been pieces of wood moved in from place to place, and the plan is to put them back where they're supposed to be. This is the living room with the historic steel hood, which is interesting. not copper. This is the stairway, which we have opened up. So here's the illustration from 1902. This is what we had previously. They had enclosed this as a closet and then floored it over on the second floor. And now we have it opened up. What we're missing here are the American chestnut paneling, which will match this. The view from the dining room. And in the Inglenook, we will be restoring the Inglenook. Some of the woodwork is falling off. We've got a lot of pine paneling here, and restoring the metal hood that was once over the fireplace there. This is the office that I referred to as his study upstairs, so his office. And we're working with local craftsmen for the tile restoration. There are 2 tile fireplaces in the house on the second floor. This room has severe water deterioration. It was underneath the front chimney, and this elevation, which is the south elevation of that room, really needs to be disassembled and then reassembled back. There's a lot of water deterioration in that room. This project has a lot of different people. I kept this slide in here. The Gustav Stickley House Foundation is the not-for-profit who have been charged with fundraising for the project, partnering with OHA, who will be the end user of the house. The Greater Syracuse Land Bank is the current owner and has worked with us on grant applications and everything. We are Crawford & Stearns is the architectural and preservation consultant. UMPA was our partner for phase 1, and then EDR, and I have slides from EDR to present to you as well, so that gives you a little overview of that.
You can move it up. There you go.
Move it up. So these are slides from EDR. This is the topo that we had done recently, and it is basically informational. What you will note is that directly to the west of the house is a large hill, and to the south of the house we have a smaller hill that goes up to the neighbor's driveway. We've met with the neighbor to the south and discussed his driveway and how water should pitch from his driveway. And so what we are presenting today is basically what I'm calling the concrete backer wall, which we will need to do as part of our part of phase 2, so that we can pour the concrete backer wall when we do the foundations to the addition. And then EDR will be coming back, and I'll show you those. And then EDR will be coming back in with the final site design development for your review at a separate time. And so let's see if I can. This is just an overlay from an aerial photo. So this is the preliminary design that EDR has presented to the Gustav Stickley House Foundation. The parking layout was actually approved by the planning board a number of years ago, and I don't have the date on that, but Dave, do you remember? I mean, it goes back like 3 or 4 years. So the area in white here is the retaining wall. And there is a detail in your packet, and I think it's the last slide here, of the proposed retaining wall, which would eventually be stone-faced with a stone capstone. But for this phase, it will be a concrete wall so that we can get that in, and then would have mobility in the site, because right now it kind of gradually just kind of slopes up to the hill in the backyard. So item 13 is the wall here. So here's the addition here, entryway here, exit from the stair goes out to the north. The next door neighbor neighbor house comes back, and they have a small parking lot, probably for about 4 cars in the back. And they also have I'll say, a steep hill. It's not quite as steep. Also of note is that there's about 4 trees that need to be removed. They have been undermined with runoff and things like that. And I think there's like 2 here. So these are grade determinations from EDR. How festive.
Thank you.
Schematic of the walls.
Oh, no, sorry.
This is
Choose done.
representing the edge of the house, and this is cut through the driveway. So the top of the stone wall at the parking area would be like 5'3", about this high, and it does step down as you get closer to Columbus Avenue. This is illustration from EDR. No, sorry, this is existing conditions from EDR. So you can see that the driveway, which was blacktop and at one point had some concrete components, basically has all grown over with grass at this point. This is that door that I pointed out was the kitchen stoop, that location, and you can see how steep the hillside is. That goes up to Bassett. Thank you. I knew it was a B. And then this should be.
It should be over there. Squeeze it up. Or just scoot it up. There you go. And you might be able to go to the side as well.
push it over to the right.
Put it over. Yeah, there you go.
No,
Maybe if the
that's probably
picture's not
about it.
there.
Blacktop, and again, these are presented as informational to the board, and you can see the top line here is the top of the stone wall, and they've illustrated stone here. This is the kitchen stoop, and then blacktop, and then concrete pavers. Again, the front steps from the sidewalk to the porch, not the porch itself, are concrete. So it's all early 20th century. Concrete is appropriate for this period. So EDR would present a planting plan and paving materials and all that other stuff.
There you go.
So what would be built would be, the drainage would be put in, the concrete backer wall, the footing, but not the stone and not the bluestone coping. And there's one small section that will require a guardrail, which is completely hidden from the public view, and it's by the back fire exit stair. And it's steps going up to the back garden. And EDR would propose the guardrail for that at a later period.
That's it.
That's it. That's it.
That's all I got?
Thank you. Anyone who'd like to speak in favor? What's that?
I'll require this be moved.
Can you state your name?
I'm
for the
David
record?
Michael. I live at 94 Xavier Circle. And as Beth indicated, I'm on the board of the Gustav Stickley House Foundation. Beth is always very thorough. Just cover a couple of things. The foundation supporting the project is working to raise the funds. To date, we've received $2,250,000 of grants from state, federal. Particularly want to mention $250,000 from the county and $250,000 from the city. ARPA, whatever ARPA stands for. ARPA money.
There you go.
The foundation is in the process of raising additional money. Our goal is to start the bidding process in early next year, hopefully January. However, the plans do have to be, and the bid documents do have to be approved by both State SHPO office and the Federal National Park Service office, which could always be a delay. But we do hope to start the work in the spring. The way the plans and the bid documents will be developed is it will show various stages, and hopefully we will get good bids, and that will determine how far we're able to go. But priority would be the restoration of the first floor and the completion of the accessible addition, which is, of course, is very important to the building. When the phase 2 work is completed, land bank will either lease or sell, depending what one of the grants requires, the building to the Onondaga Historic Association, who will manage it. I might mention Lisa Moore, the new director of OHA, is working diligently with some hospitality consultants to come up with the best strategy for administering the building, particularly the guest room part, which OHA is not expert at. We're expert in historic buildings. So if you have any questions, happy to try to answer them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone who'd like to speak in opposition? Beth, do you have any other closing remarks? Pardon? Okay. Let the record show that no one is here to speak in opposition and no additional comments. I will close the public meeting and we can open it up for discussion and questions. Anyone have some questions? I have one.
Well, procedurally, do we need to close the?
I just closed it.
She closed it.
I just closed the public meeting.
Thank you. Okay, I'm
I
sorry.
do have one question, and
Go
it's
ahead.
good that this screen is up. In this phase, you're proposing to put in the concrete wall and foundation, and I see that there's some under drains as well. In the plan, it looked like that foundation wall doesn't come all the way to the street. There's a stopping point. So my question is, the under drain, where is that draining to? Is it being connected to city storm? Okay. Okay. Good, because that would be important, I mean, obviously, because of the slope and grades, you're not draining to an adjacent neighbor, which you can't do, but you also need to know where it's draining to. Okay. Jeff?
Thank you. This is fantastic. I just have a few questions, clarifications. And since this slide is up, we can start with this one. Since I know EDR's not here, but has there been any research done in the yard to see if there's any remnant of garden design or anything of that nature that we could build off of for a new design? Or anything subsurface structurally, like a walk or pads? Thank you. The proposed retaining wall, I like the design, it looks good. you've covered all bases, but do we need to clad it in stone? Can we have it stand out as a modern feature since there's no precedent for it on site?
Are you proposing that they wouldn't clad it with the limestone?
I'm good either way.
Okay.
I just want to hear if there's any design decision and background on that proposal, or if that's.
Certainly appropriate for the time, for the 20s.
Well,
I mean,
I
in
have.
20s to have limestone.
Yeah, I don't have any issue with it. I was just wondering
Okay.
if there was a precedent. Two more questions, sorry. The windows in the breakfast room, they show like W122 and 123. Yeah, they have the little transoms. That's what was there? It just, yeah, okay. Yeah. Sunlight in, yeah, okay. Third floor porch, the addition, that's gonna be come enclosed? The drawings don't indicate any windows in there on your plans?
Oh,
It's an existing,
but it's showing windows.
yeah, but they're not called out.
The plan is for that third floor rear porch
Yeah,
to be enclosed,
this one,
yes.
yeah.
And on that south side window,
I don't,
is to have a large picture window. So when you
Okay.
walk out into that porch, you kind of can see like the whole hillside. And the porch has like a ceiling, and it has a flat rail. Put a large insulated glass window in that location.
Okay.
So when you walk into that space, you actually kind of feel like it's
It's an outside.
still a porch.
yeah, no,
And that creates the link to the lula and the basket.
it just wasn't called out as every window's called out, so I wasn't sure what was going on there, so that's fine. I feel it's an appropriate response to the openings, so thank you.
You have any other questions?
That is all I have. Terrific project.
The only question I had was regarding looking at the disposition of the new rooms, and there are clearly entrances to the rooms, and I'm assuming what I'm seeing is that we have fixed doors that are restoring essentially the character and the layout of the original corridor across those rooms, or it appears that there's solid panels kind of. I wasn't clear whether those are pocket doors or what the intent is there. Yeah.
You want to put the plan up?
Yeah. That as well.
So these three doors are kind of an iconic Gustav Stickley. They show up in the renderings from 1902 from the stair hall, which is a view from here looking this way. Right now, this is entry door to this bedroom, entry door to this bedroom, and entry door into a small closet. What we've taken here for this small bathroom is we've taken three closets and combined them into one bathroom. So this door is fixed in place. These two could be operable into the suites here, but what we tried to do was to control noise from downstairs, because you'll have noise coming up this stair. We've closed these in place. We've done this in several properties, including Babcock Shattuck, when we did the Babcock Shattuck House at the corner of Westcott and Genesee Street, where we closed off public hallway doors. We plated the doors at the hardware so that the fire department doesn't think that, that they
That they're
can get
accessible
into
doors,
that room. And what we did was we created these kind of secondary entries to keep noise down from this hallway, and that's why those three are shut in place. And so in this case, you'd come down the hall and enter here, and then enter into this bedroom. You'd enter into the sitting room here, and then. So that's why those three are closed off.
Okay.
They are historic doors. They have some issues, and they need restoration, but that's the plan for those three.
Okay, that's what I had assumed, but thank you for clarifying.
I had a question about the third floor, and I'm not sure if it even applies to this property at all, but is it required to have any additional means of egress?
So here's the stair at the second floor, and there's an up and a down here from the second floor, and then if we go here, there is no formal fancy front stair going to the third floor, but we have this stair, which is, here we just call it the existing stair, but it would be the back stair, the service stair, if you will, and then we have the secondary stair here. So again, this is that little porch Jeff was talking about. This is an existing roof over the sleeping porch. So this is kind of that little porch right there, and then literally this is the little addition here to get you to the third floor. So yes, we have two. And the house will be.
I saw the two. I just was wondering if it in the event there was a fire and they couldn't access those stairs at all, did you have to have like something?
That's why we
through
do
the
have
window?
to. That's why we have
Okay.
this stair. Yeah.
And the building is sprinkled, correct?
And
Oh, okay.
What is it classified as? Because it's no longer residential in a sense. So what are you classifying?
Question.
Okay, so then R3? R3? Yeah, okay. Pardon? Okay. Okay. Well, that would also answer, right, but it would also trigger the second exit. Because if it was residential, you could technically, you could have one stair because you use a window for exiting. I mean, that's, right, I know, but it depends, I mean, if it was residential, that's how they do it, so, okay. Any other comments? Cynthia? No. Okay. So this is a certificate of appropriateness, so need a motion. Would someone like to make a motion?
I move that we approve.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion passed. Thank you very much. Good
Keep
luck.
up the great work.
Appreciate the presentation.
Very well done.
Okay, next, we have no old business, but we do have new business. Application of variance application for 216 Lowell Ave. Installation of 2 new spires for a nationally registered listed church. Is someone here to speak to that? Please come on up.
Let's bring that podium back over. Oh, we got that up there? Oh, great. Thank you.
Oh,
Excellent.
we're moving into the next century here.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Too much paperwork.
Yep. Hello, Board. I'm Chris White. I am working with St. Patrick's Church. I
Your
am-
address as well?
Pardon?
Name and address.
Oh.
I believe Kate needs
For
it.
me at the church.
You and your address, you gave your name, Chris White.
Chris White with the CMC Group.
There we go.
Address is 2373 Route 174, Marietta, New York, 13110.
Thank you.
And over the years, I've done a number of things for St. Patrick's Church. I normally do large commercial residential stuff, but I have a affiliation with the church. I have a whole bunch of neighbors who are very big fans. There's a whole Walsh family that lives in my street, so. And it's actually really a wonderful structure. I've gotten to that point where I get to pick and choose what projects I do. I like working on this church just because of how it was built and the design. 2-3 years ago, we did an interior renovation. We really just fixed all the paintwork, which was peeling. We had plaster problems. We had all sorts of stuff. So we didn't really gut it, but we refinished it, and it was such a wonderful project just because of the design work of the period. really enjoyed it. They called me a year or two ago and said, well, we need to replace our steeple. Now, the funny thing is I'd been in and out of this church, I don't know how many times, and I never looked up. When I looked up, there's this little stumpy steeple. Turns out 100 years ago, that steeple fell over in a windstorm. That is probably the only remaining picture of the original church steeple that we can find anywhere. Also interesting, nobody did document what it looked like when it fell over, why it failed. Nobody has any idea. But they have been talking about replacing this for years. After we did the interior project, this was next up on the to-do list. One of our parishioners, Tom Bryan, was a project manager for Hayner Hoyt, 35 years. And there's a period where Hayner Hoyt did a lot of churches, new and renovation. So I used Tom to take a look at it, and he told me about a company called Campbellsville Church Steeples. They make prefabricated aluminum custom church steeples. Initially, it sounds cheap when you say prefabricated aluminum, but if you want a tall structure that you don't have to climb up to for the next 80 years, that's the way to go. We did some looking into it, and they're very high end, very nicely built. They designed a replacement steeple for us. I will say the first one we didn't like, and the second one we did. The original design, nobody in the church likes very much. They said it looked like a Transylvanian castle.
Nope. Touch the screen. Right. Down.
Zoom out.
I have to admit, I didn't really put this together. This is from the application, so I'm going to bounce around a bit. Yep. So this is, basically we're not touching anything on the brick tower going up to it. It goes up to approximately 70 feet existing brick. There's a flat roof with this little stumpy pyramid on it. We're taking that off and replacing it with this new design. I've got a better picture here. That's the stumpy thing. It really doesn't fit. I got Del Paz to do us an artist rendering of what the new setup will look like. It is pretty tall. It's approximately 70 feet to there, and this is another 61, so it's 130 feet tall. As best we can tell, that's almost exactly what the original structure was. I personally like the architectural element of this. I think it fits with the general style of church. Other thing we're going to do is this smaller steeple. We're basically duplicating this part of the spire again down here, just so there's some architectural cohesiveness between everything. Again, also with this, we're not touching any of the brickwork. We're just really taking existing steeple off and putting a new one on. Just a better detail. For this one, we do have a little structural steel work on the top. They deliver these things with a bunch of bolt holes, so you have to bolt them to something. I got a structural engineer involved to make sure we can support the wind load. It fell over 100 years ago. We don't want to do it again. It's not super involved structural steel, but it ties it in such a way that we can meet all the building codes for wind loads. I mean, in New York, it's now 122 miles for a wind load. 150 years ago, I don't think they even thought of it, which is why it fell over.
And going up.
I guess what I'd rather do, if you guys are okay with it, I mean, that's the proposal. I do better with questions and answers.
Well,
So-
if you're finished with your presentation, we can have a discussion, because this is a variance, and we're only making recommendations. Recommendations, so. Would
I'm
someone,
finished with my presentation, which I didn't know I had to give till 2 days ago.
you did very well.
And I got back from Florida at midnight last night. So.
Great job.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for coming.
I understand why you want to replace the steeple. I guess I should say that I wrote the National Register nomination for this church, and it is a Gothic church. And the steeple that you're proposing, this 3-stage steeple, is not characteristic of a Gothic building. I'm wondering, couldn't you do something simpler, more like what was originally there? Still, use your prefab, but do something that was closer to what was initially on the building.
The answer is technically yes, we could. The first design we got back was more similar to the original structure. And I'm just the guy who builds things. I gave it to the board and the church, and every single one said, no, don't like it. It doesn't look warm and greeting. To them, it didn't look like a church. So you're correct. It could be more like that, but my feeling is if that was the question, they would probably say, yeah, we'll just live with what we have. I have my own set of aesthetics, but I am not the church. We had many discussions. In fact, I took the original design and didn't say a word and just said, here's the first pass, and immediately got faces of like, no, I don't want one of those. I personally, I like the way it looks. Is it true to maybe the original design? Not as perfectly could be, but I think it's very representative of, I call it New England style, kind of. And anybody who...
That is what it looks like.
yeah,
It looks
right.
like a New England.
Like a colonial.
Church, yeah.
Federal,
Yeah.
square little white church.
And all the parishioners of the church really like it. So we do seek to get the input of people actually have to go there, and they really like this design.
Sure.
I think perhaps what would, finding middle ground would be if it's not 3-tiered, and bringing down the tiers, the 2 tiers that are painted white, and maybe it's 1 tier and it's much lower, because from grade level, you wouldn't perceive it as something so tall. Because if I look at the dimensions.
Removing that first.
Yeah, the first one I think is, and I know that Campbell, I've worked with them before, and they'll basically do anything you want. It's prefabricated, but it's still custom prefabricated. It might help in terms of the style of the church if one of those tiers is actually eliminated, the actual spire is taller in terms of the relationship, the scale of it. But,
I'm not, yeah,
well, basically what
But
I'm
we'll look more
suggesting
similar
is
to the first one.
this,
making the spire taller.
making the spire taller
Elongating
and
it, yep.
reducing this tier and bringing it down, so it's the same height overall from grade level that you're proposing, but it doesn't have this cake tier impression.
And the one you're suggesting they take away is referencing a bell tower.
Right,
And
right.
there is a
No.
bell tower already in the
Right.
brick tower. So
Correct.
it's a bell tower on top of a bell tower.
So if we eliminated that bell tower first tier of the 3, and we compensated that height within the spire itself, within the conical roof, we still dimensionally are the same height, but visually or architecturally, it's more appropriate for this style of structure. And I just wanted to comment on the balustrade as well.
Yeah.
Again, that harkens to a federal style, New England town square kind of a church, which this is not. Is there a way we could better interpret that transition from the existing steeple to this new proposal that will sit on top. I think the elimination of that balustrade, I think would be beneficial to the project overall, and the legibility of what's going on. We have the original structure, albeit slightly modified from the 1925 modification after the steeple fell, but would have a better line of delineation, understanding what's old and what is new.
So, at the risk of sounding weird, I'll be completely honest with you. That's already ordered.
Oh,
The problem was when we started this project, nobody told me we were on the historic list or anything. And Campbellsville was like a 9-month lead time, so there was a rush to, let's order it and we'll figure out the details. So, I've got a problem.
Well, I mean, I personally am emphatic about having a new steeple placed on this church. I attended St. Patrick's as a young child. I was an altar boy at this church. I have a lot of great memories of this space. I was blown away to see that we are adding a tower to this structure. Very excited. Slightly deflated when I saw the design, and I just was hoping that we could have an open conversation and make some modifications to be more architecturally
I'm fine with that.
appropriate.
I'm not in control of aesthetics by any manner. I'm just the guy who's trying to get it built.
Sure, if it's ordered, that changes the.
Yes, it does. I'm sorry it went that way.
So what is, other comments?
No, I mean, other than if we were to keep that configuration, my only other comment, another possibility would be to modify the profile of the openings so that they were at least referencing the Neo-Gothic language or something. I mean, I agree with everything else that's been stated, but I just second that I feel it's very discordant with the character of the existing building.
So the process here, so the variance is required because of the height. It's an area variance. So this needs to go before the BZA, and the role of the Landmark Preservation Board in this is to comment. So what the board will do is provide its comments to, back to zoning, and those will become part of the record when it's considered by the BZA. And I believe that will be a public hearing at that point, so having, additional conversation, in the context of these comments, but then also in terms of, the status of the project and so forth will be important for the BZA to know.
Let me ask you this. It's been ordered. When was it ordered and what stage of construction is it in?
I mean, actually ordered. The initial order was in spring, and they had told us that it was such a long lead time, we just put an order in to get a place at the table, a point in line. We've made some changes since then. I think we probably could still make a couple small changes, like if we wanted to make this more of a Gothic instead of a rounded arch, it's going to cost us some money, but I think we can probably do that. If we start changing the structure,
That's probably.
I'm going to get an awful lot of heartburn from them and from everybody else. So I agree with you. Many Gothic designs down here that aren't carried out, but we probably could get this changed to a Gothic arch. Balustrade if you really don't like it. We are amenable to doing what we can do.
What is the balustrade attached to? A cap?
Yes. This whole thing comes as, it actually comes as two-piece, we assembled it, the whole thing drops. This is a rather nice design in the balustrade, and this coping goes on top of and down, slightly down the side of the existing brick.
So it
Drops in place one
over,
piece.
okay.
There's no exposed
So
roof.
there's no roof exposed up top.
That's not good.
And right now, it's just a brick wall up also, you know, next project, which you're now telling me what to do next year, is repoint the whole brick, the whole place. It's not great shape either.
So, this is comment only,
This is comment only. Would you like to make a comment?
this is my comment. I support the installation of a steeple for the purposes of getting what's the word?
Spire?
Well, get the variance, thank you.
Okay.
I support putting up a steeple, getting a variance. I do not support the existing design, the proposed design.
Any other comments? Okay.
I'll summarize what the comments were, and we'll provide those to the,
Do we all support the variance for a steeple?
Yes.
We've
I would agree that, I mean, I don't take a vote, but, and we're not voting, but my comment would be that I do support the church's effort to put a spire on top of the church. And I would agree with Jeff in terms of the stylistic character of the new spire is not in keeping with the historic nature of the building.
I feel slightly troubled if to start modifying this, we're gonna go down the wrong track.
I don't think we can. If it's ordered in April
Right.
of 18,
Well, I-
minor changes would be
Well,
most likely
right,
allowable.
Mr. White mentioned that we could possibly make some modifications. I don't wanna go down that track.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Can I ask off the record question
No,
you're on the record.
you're on the record.
then? I was just gonna ask, trying to figure out what that actually means. I mean, you support it, but you don't. Remember, I'm the guy in the middle, so I just gotta go
Yeah,
tell
no.
other people what's gonna happen.
Yeah, so I think that the summary of the comments will basically be that the board is definitely in support of the church seeking to replace the steeples. However, the design of the proposed steeples are not in keeping with the historic character of the property, and that is basically the comment that will go back to zoning. And then the BZA will make its determination about whether or not it will take the LPB's comments into account, but then it also has other, other criteria it has to consider when it's approving a variance. So this will be part of the mix, basically. Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you. Great project.
Thank you.
Appreciate your
Okay,
time.
so next we have discussion, City Planning Commission lead agency request.
So this is a request by the, or basically notification to various involved parties that the Planning Commission is intending to be lead agency for the Maria Regina Gardens project, which this is for the on behalf of the environmental review and seeker. So unless there are any objections, I will let zoning know that the board is happy with the planning commission being lead agency.
I
second,
support it, we don't have to vote, but I support them taking lead, yes, lead agency, and we're
Agreed.
just being notified because we're
Yes, because we're involved.
Involved.
We're an
Part of
involved
the team.
agency.
So everybody who's involved has to be notified. So, yeah. Okay.
And then finally, I just wanted to make sure you all knew that you were members of the National Alliance of Preservation Commissions now. You can sign up for their listserv, which I've started to receive, and it's a lot of information, so I would suggest you put it into its own folder if you decide to do that. But it's good information, a lot of interesting conversation. There's an upcoming, actually later today, an
It's
upcoming
today at
training opportunity. And I believe they do them monthly, if I'm not mistaken, so, or, but just,
But this is the 20th century
this is modern architecture training.
at 1 o'clock.
At 1 o'clock, and I think it's a great resource for us to have, and, yeah. So.
Okay. Motion,
Can I just,
One more announcement?
this, I just wanted to recognize Patrona
on
Jones Rouser for her successful election to the Common Council.
And we are sorry that you're not going to be, because I know it's a conflict.
Yes.
We've really enjoyed you being a part of this group and the commentary that you bring to it, but we support your move.
Thank you. I have enjoyed everyone, even those that are not here. Learning from all of you guys was extremely well taken. But I do plan to continue to watch, and maybe you'll see me in the audience every now and then.
You are most welcome.
Yeah, and I
We'd
would
love to
say,
see it.
and it is wonderful for the LPB as well as the preservation program as a whole to have someone who knows the inner workings of the LPB on the Common Council. So we really appreciate that. Yeah.
Which brings insight to how you look at projects, understanding how we were looking at projects. So I think it's a win-win for everyone. Thank you. Okay, if someone want to make a motion? All in favor?
Well, we have
Oh,
a
we need a
second.
second.
Come on, Patrona, get in there.
I'll second it.
You got me on record from the last meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, no opposition.
Yeah, thank you, everyone.
Thank you. My first meeting.
Great
Oh,
job.
my God. A long meeting.
Yeah. Yeah, we figured Stickity would be a lot of information, but that was very,
I would, if people are interested in seeing something,
Would.
Yep.
That would be nice to do that, maybe spring.
Yeah.
I would say spring, because then we could really understand the site.
I was hoping to
And do
go.
you know when EDR is going to present in terms of the site? Okay. Because that, I mean, if they're gonna go out to bid in January for spring, I would like some of those questions regarding site and stormwater management answered, because those are really important. You can't go off-site with your water. You have to resolve it.
Can they take that to daylight or no? I'm trying.
I don't know
'cause-
if by grade they can take it to daylight, but they can't go off their own property.
Well, I know-
And draining into the street doesn't work.
Right, well, that'd be daylighting. and you-
Right, but you could
so-
daylight on your own property, but I
yeah.
don't know if they have the dimension to do that.
But I know sometimes you've got to put like your sump pump, or even your furnace water into a dry well. That can't
Correct,
that
which can't
that can't go
go-
down your sewer. It's
But,
gotta
right,
go-
exactly, it can't go down storm sewer, so
Or
depending
sanitary
on,
sewer.
right, sanitary, and depending on what that piping is
Yeah.
and what's connected to it is a question that
So
needs
there
to
may be a
be.
dry well that goes in the front yard or something.
Could be. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Can't believe it's.
Our next meeting is in January.